Hello, I'm going to show you how to add highlights onto an image. I'm going to be using this image, this fire, and this man with a suit as the example. Now the first thing you have to do is make a hue and saturation layer. To do so, you go to your layers panel, go all the way down until you find the little circle next to the folder, click on it, then go up until you find hue saturation. You might get this properties tab open and you make this new layer you see in the layers panel. And before you start messing with it, if you go down in the properties, make sure the hue and saturation panel layer is selected. Find the little box with a little arrow down going down next to it. This will make it where it'll clip to the layer below it. So if you ever make any like changes onto the hue and saturation layer, it'll only affect the layer below it that's clipped on. And then next, you're gonna have to colorize in the properties panel. Because if you don't, what we're gonna be wanting to do is change his color and match the fire right here. Because we're gonna want to add the highlights. And if you don't, it'll as you see, it'll just be his skin that's gonna be changing color. It's just gonna be his skin changing color. We don't want that. We want his whole body, his suits, his pants, and everything. Even his watch right there. So we're gonna have to do as I said, press the colorize. As you see, now he's completely colored. And now what you're gonna want to do is go to the hue and then change the color so it matches the lighting of whatever you're trying to add a highlight on. And also increase the saturation depending on how you like it, but I'm gonna put mine to like let's say like 75 or so. Change the hue a bit, like about right here is probably fine. Right here. And then you can just get out of there. And now what we're going to do next, go to your layers panel, go to here saturation layer, right click it, go up, find blending options, and then you get this new tab right here, the layer style panel. Now you don't need to click with any of these options. What you have to do in the blending options, go down until you find the underlying layer. The underlying, we'll be using the underlying layer. So the color will be more focused on where like a highlight would be, like where the bright parts are at, rather than instead of the dark shadows. What I mean by this is, let's say you go to the little arrow on the underline layer, the black arrow. You see the little line on it? Those can be separated into two. If you hold Alt on Windows and I believe Command on Mac, find the little right side of it, of the underline layer arrow, and then drag it. Now as you see, you get this. Now you can make it where it's only focused a bit more on only like the highlights. This will help you on where the highlights would be. Then just press OK. And now what you have to do is press Control I. This is just inverts the color. The color's still there. It's just like invisible currently. And to take it out, you're gonna need your brush tool. So press B on your keyboard. And then make sure in your toolbar section, if you go down all the way, you find these two little colors, the white and black. Or at least make sure they're white and black. And make sure white is your foreground color. This is so it'll help you take out the color previously inverted. Here, let me show you what I mean. Let's say I go on the guy. I'm going to color in the suit real quick. I see there's nothing there, but because you have the layer, the mask selected, I'm not going to go too in depth since this isn't a part of the video. As you see, colors, you press X, this inverts the foreground color and make sure the black will take out and white will add, as you see right here. I have another video for the masking. I'll put in the description so you can watch it and have more of a better understanding on how the masking works. Now the main part we're gonna be wanting to do. We're gonna be adding the highlights. And make sure you add highlights in reasonable areas of where you're gonna be adding them. Because let's say you're just gonna add it right here, that's on the left side. I mean, this doesn't make sense because the light isn't there. Like the fire, the light of the fire, it's the right side right here. It's not getting the left side. So there's like, it doesn't make sense. So make sure it's like reasonable areas where you're gonna be adding it. And also keep in mind on how like light works and some like how the light might work. Keep in mind on how big the light that you're using and like where it's at. Because since it's like kind of right here, kind of a bit above him, almost head level. So right, it's gonna be kind of like maybe like focused a bit more like right here. And right here, where I'm coloring right now, it won't be as much color. Like right here maybe. There won't be much color right here. Right here, only probably a bit right here. But I'll just be coloring, you see how it goes. So I'll just kind of go around the edges. I'll be like a fine start to start. Just kind of do like the edges a bit. Just so you kind of like have an understanding on how the lighting's gonna work. We'll do like the edges right here. After all, the light's still getting it. And a good thing that can probably be helpful while you're highlighting is you can do like little big like spotches right here, let's just say. So I want to do this, like big little spotches. And then I can just press X on my keyboard to invert the color. And then I can just fade. And that adds like a nice fade to it, as you see. And also, as I said, depending on how your image is, keep in mind on how the shadows will work too. And also just want to say, make sure you take your time while highlighting, because if you don't do a good highlight, it could kind of mess up a bit of the picture, because like, like it wouldn't really make sense on how the highlight may work. So kind of just try to take your time. The more time you take on it, the better it can be. I won't worry about his head too much. Maybe just a hair bit, just 'cause why not? Just kind of get like the outlines a bit with this. Get like the main areas. This is what you want to focus on. After a bit of tweaking a bit here and there, I moved the fire a bit more to the right, just so we can see a bit more of the shadow, because the fire was like right behind the picture, so just so we can see like the highlights a bit easier. Trying to just adding a bit more tweaks here and there. I kind of changed the color, I think about like one or so, just a bit. And now that we've done this, what we're gonna have to do is duplicate your hue and saturation layer. Now what we're going to do next is duplicate your hue and saturation layer. To do so, you can either press Ctrl J, or if you go to your layers panel, hold Alt, drag it, and then put it down right below it. Make sure you see there's like a little blue line between the two layers, then let go. This also this also duplicates it. But this thing we're going to want to do with this new duplicate is go to the little symbol of in the layer, the hue and saturation symbol, with the duplicate, double click it, and then you get back to the properties. What we're gonna have to do next, kind of may like lessen the saturation, because what we did before, we added more like just like the main like the main color, the main outlines. But this time, what we're gonna do, we're just gonna add more like an overall like highlight fade, just so there's kind of like a bit more of a better transition with with the highlights and like with the other kind of highlights that's in the picture. So just lessen the saturation depending on how you want it. And then just go to the layers panel and then just add like just make a big brush size. Kind of just like kind of and then just kind of color over a bit. Make sure not to do too much, but just enough. And if you need to, you can just tweak it a bit, raise the saturation more, lower it, and then maybe like right here. You can change the hues here and there. That's how you've added a highlight. Now let's say like there's like two different kinds, like one on the left, one on the right. Now just don't mind right here on my picture, just don't mind the green. Just focus more on like the purple. The green is, I don't know why it's there. It's like makes it sparkly. But so let's say like now there's like two different kind of lights. Now you're just gonna do this one, just doing the same thing on the other side. That's what we can do. Add on the left, and it'll make probably like a cool little picture. So you just do the same thing. Just make a whole new saturation, colorize, clip, add a bit more saturation, change the color, make sure it's the same as the other one. Um, I'll probably, for me, I like this one. This one seems fine. 283. It's quite close. Maybe either it can either go between because the highlights are quite bright, but the shadows are quite on the darker side. So right here is kind of like in the middle. And then you can go to blending options, fix the underlying layer, hold Alt or Command, fix it a bit, see how you like it. And then we would just start with the highlighting again. And then there you go. There's like still a lot of things that probably need to be fixed, but I don't think I want to worry too much about it. But like, there you go. It went from being like this to this. And there's still quite a bit of things that need to be fixed, like the knuckles probably need to be fixed a bit more. Might tweak it a bit right now, but maybe like after the video, maybe you see like in the thumbnail. So yeah, highlights. They're very nice and simple. All you have to make sure is just make sure on how to use it correctly. Make sure like you're not using them in like in unreasonable areas where you just don't need to add the light on. But other than that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.